Grab a cocktail with us and welcome to the hot mess that is my life as a single makeup artist living in a college town in Florida. This is Kara's Lipstick Diary. We're back, you guys. Have you hit that subscribe button? You know you want to. With episodes coming out weekly, don't miss out when they're coming, so hit that subscribe button. Okay, you guys, pelvic floor health. I mean, that sounds super exciting, right? And I remember hearing that if I had babies, all sorts of things were gonna happen and I was gonna have issues when I stood up and I peed on myself. Well, you know what? Even without having kids, weird shit happens to your pelvic floor when you're in your 40s. So let's talk about pelvic floor health with my guest, Rachel. We're gonna talk about how it affects sexual activity, how it affects, peeing on yourself, and all of that fun, super exciting stuff. So I think we need a cocktail for that. First off, thank you to Clearly Canadian. Oh my God, Clearly Canadian. You guys were my favorite thing growing up. You knew it was a good day if your mom had Clearly Canadian in your refrigerator. Well, they've re-released it and they sent me an entire case. So I'm gonna be featuring it in today's cocktail. We're gonna use the peach flavored Clearly Canadian for this cocktail. Okay, you guys, so I'm always a hot mess making these drinks, but we're gonna start out with 1.5 ounces of peach vodka. I've become a big fan of Greenhouse. It's gluten-free and it tastes really good. So I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna put that in the little shaker thingy because apparently I'm supposed to use that. I'm really bad at remembering to use this thing, but I'm supposed to apparently. Okay, so we put that in there with some ice in there, and then we're gonna add in 1/2 ounce of some peach schnapps. Oh, that was a little bit more than 1/2 ounce. Oops, it's gonna have a little extra peach schnappiness about it. Okay, and then we're supposed to shake it. I always get really scared to shake it. I don't know why. I think it's gonna explode on me. All right, so then we go from there and we add it to our glass. We're gonna then top it with 2 ounces of the Clearly Canadian, which I'm seriously so excited that this stuff is back, you guys. And it's a peach flavor. We know that I have a slight obsession with peach flavored stuff. All right, topping it off with a fabulous Clearly Canadian. Seriously, so many memories attached to this stuff. And then we're just gonna add a little bit of lime to it and we're good to go. All right, are you guys ready to talk with Rachel all about pelvic health? I think so, let's go. All right, you guys. Rachel, thank you so much for coming on our show. I think this topic is so important to talk to with women because we kind of don't bother to teach people about female anatomy, female health, female sexuality, anything like that. Mm-hmm. We just sort of skip over it. So on the show, we talk about all the shit that no one talks about. So Rachel is here as my guest and we are going to discuss pelvic floor health. Kind of important, ladies, kind of really important. And I know when I was growing up, my knowledge of such things was very little. I remember hearing something called a kegel that I was supposed to do. I didn't know what the fuck a kegel was, but I knew that I was supposed to do them. I knew that if I had babies, I might pee when I laugh or stood up. Did not know that shit changes just by getting older too. So, I'm 41 now and shit's changing, y'all. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on and talking. So this is what you deal with women and pelvic health issues for a living, correct?
Yes. I am a pelvic health physical therapist.
Okay.
So I see women coming in with all sorts of issues with their pelvic health, be it, postpartum issues, leakage, pain with sex is a common one that I see, or just regular pelvic pain.
Yeah.
And like you said, just everybody has in common that they know nothing.
Nothing.
Nobody's been taught this stuff.
Nothing. Literally, it's you have a vagina. Okay, well, first off, the vagina is the hole. This whole thing is not the vagina.
Yes.
And then, beyond that, we know shit. Literally, they tell us nothing.
And a lot of people don't even know that.
Right, exactly. Most people don't know that. And we don't talk about it. No one fucking talks about this stuff.
Yeah.
And you think, oh my God, there's something wrong with me because it hurts during sex.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No.
And so many people are just taught just breathe through it. Have a glass of wine.
Yeah. And
you'll
it's really
be fine.
not about your pleasure anyway. So what does it matter?
Yeah.
Fuck that shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, by the way, welcome to my show. I cuss a lot. Hope you're okay with that.
Happy to be here.
First off, what is the number one thing that people come into you for? And then sort of a follow-up to that, what is the things they should be coming into you for?
Yeah, totally. So it really kind of depends on just in general the time. Sometimes I'll get more people in for leakage.
Yeah.
But And sometimes I'll get more people in for other issues, right? But in general, kind of an overarching thing that I feel like I see a lot is pain with sex.
Yeah.
That's a really common issue. I think that a lot of people have that, but don't even realize that it can be fixed,
right,
or that there is therapy for it. So that would be one main thing that I would, encourage
and I'm
people.
Sorry, we don't want pain during sex. It's supposed to be a very pleasurable experience.
Yes.
So let's get that fixed.
This should be fun. Yeah, and not just not painful, but it should be enjoyable. Yeah.
As women, we are the only part of the species, the only half, that has an organ just for sexual pleasure.
Purely for
pleasure.
So
literally, we're the ones who should be getting the most pleasure out of this shit, not pain. Just saying. Gonna put it out there.
Yes. So that is one main issue that I see, and I see quite a bit of it, and I enjoy trading that because, again, it's something that just people have no idea.
Well, and I don't think, first off, we are warned as women that it's gonna hurt, especially that first time. It's gonna hurt, y'all.
Yeah.
And first, going into sex with that predisposed idea of this is gonna be painful. Why the fuck would we ever want to do it?
Right? Are we supposed to be scared of this?
And I think they use it as kind of a scare tactic. Yeah. I think that's literally because God forbid, you naughty girls, you have sex.
It's gonna hurt.
It's gonna hurt. You're gonna get knocked up. You're gonna get an STD, and it's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
Come on, y'all. So, I think that that's one of those things. I know early on in my sexual experiences, it did hurt.
Yeah.
And whether that was just from relaxing or other pelvic health issues, and it wasn't talked about. And none of my friends talked about it. It was just you just sucked it up and you dealt with the fact that you had a tear rolling down your face during the middle of sex, which I'm sorry, that first off, dudes, if there is a chick and there is tears rolling down her face during sex, that is not a good thing.
It's a bad sign.
That's a really, really bad sign. You should stop right then and there. But what are some of the things that went, because like I say, Kegels, that's the one thing I remember hearing about. You're supposed to do Kegels. First off, I didn't have a fucking clue what Kegels were. I was like, what the fuck is a Kegel? And when I was growing up, we didn't have Google, so I couldn't go Google Kegel. I didn't even know how to spell Kegel to look it up. But that wasn't an option. So I remember hearing this phrase. I remember hearing them talking about that on, Sex in the City and things like that. But what are actual things that people can do to help with the pain during sex?
Yeah. So honestly, most of the people who are coming in for pain with sex actually often have the issue of having too much tightness in the pelvic floor rather than
Kegels actually
weakness.
tightens you.
Exactly. Yeah. Which, Kegels are more of a pelvic floor contraction exercise. So a lot of people are doing them. Well, first of all, they've done some studies that show that most women, when you just tell them to do a Kegel, are doing it wrong. So they don't even know how to do it properly in the first place.
I'm not sure. I don't fucking know how to
do
it.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's that. And then also half of these people, they already have too much tightness. So they're doing all these Kegels and they're just making the problem worse. Yeah. So they don't know what they're doing, right? So with a lot of these patients, the first thing we're learning how to do is relax the pelvic floor, right?
That's kind of
key. Which is a novel idea.
Which will also make your pelvic medical exams much more comfortable too.
Yes.
Just so you know.
Yes.
I remember my first time they didn't tell me that they were what a pap smear was and what they were doing, and that hurt like a motherfucker. Because I didn't know how to relax it. I had no clue you could relax it.
People don't know that you can control it at all.
No, there was no knowledge of tightening, loosening. My vagina was my vagina.
It just
I didn't know. It was just there, and I didn't look at it. I didn't touch it. I didn't get near it. It was just there.
So that's another thing. I tell people you should be able to contract this. You should be able to let it down as well. And they're just like, what?
What? How do we do that?
How do I do that? Yeah. So learning
how do we do that?
Right? It's a lot of breathing exercises at first. Yeah. Mindfulness. But, and then some people might require some special tools as well, like dilators, right? In order to help with that kind of long-term process of learning how to kind of let your pelvic floor relax. Without just being constantly tight all the time.
Yeah. And I know, and I don't know if you deal with this at all, but I know that, for instance, I love Botox for medical reasons beyond just anti-aging. And I know that some women actually get Botox inserted in that area to loosen them up.
Yeah, so that is also an option, kind of that little bit of a paralytic, right? Helps that to kind of relax a little bit. And that can be very helpful short term. Obviously, I'd still recommend people get
long-term,
the underlying issue.
Yes, there's something that's causing this.
Yeah, and for a lot of people, part of the problem obviously turns into also the mental as well, right? Because if you have a painful experience multiple times, you're going to learn that that is a painful experience. And your brain is now that's not safe.
Well, I mean, I know so much of my sexual encounters has been tied with psychological. It wasn't until I got into therapy and started dealing with it that my sex life improved drastically once I did that, because it became such a psychological thing, and you didn't want to loosen up because, shit was going to go wrong.
Totally.
So 100% I get that. Yeah.
Yeah. If people are scared that it's going to hurt,
yeah,
they're going to tense up, their nervous system gets upregulated, and then it's probably going to hurt again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
for sure.
It becomes this vicious cycle.
Yeah, it's so funny because, like I say, these are things that we just never fucking talked about. I know your boss at the place where you work, and I knew that you guys offered these services, and I went to her. I ran into her at the doctor's office, actually. I was getting my B12 shot, and I was like, hey, so can I steal one of your employees for my show? I mean, I know my show's a little edgy. And she was like, yes, this is important information. And I was like, score! Yes, I get an expert on my show about pelvic floors. This is fantastic. So the other main thing I remember people talking about, because we didn't talk much, but was the whole thing, you have babies, and then all of a sudden, you're gonna pee when you laugh, when you stand up abruptly, all of these things. Well, I'm 41, y'all. I ain't never had a baby. Ain't no babies coming out of me. But shit has changed. And I'm like, it's weird. This is TMI. You're going to hear shit you don't want to hear. But I know, I'll go to the bathroom and I think I finished peeing, and then I stand up and then pee comes out. I'm like, where the fuck did this shit come from? Or I'll be in the pool and then I go to get out of the pool, and then all of a sudden there's pee running down my leg. And I'm like, what? How? This did not used to happen. What the fuck is going on, and how do I fix it? And I know, like I say, this is not, I had a boss one time, she had 2 kids. Every time she fucking started laughing, she would pee. It was just known, she laughs, she's peeing.
Yeah.
We do not want to walk around peeing on ourselves. And this is not something that I want to happen. I'm 41, y'all. I got a lot of life to live. I do not need urine down my leg. So what cause is this, one? And then what the fuck do we do? Because like I say, I don't want to walk around and pee down my leg accidentally when I'm not expecting it.
Totally. Yeah. So, like you said, that can happen postpartum. It can happen, without ever having any kids, and even to people who are younger, right? Yeah. It's actually, there's a really high level of incontinence and pelvic floor issues in gymnasts, and they're the strongest people ever, right?
But it kind of makes sense because they're doing shit with their bodies. None of the rest of us are doing. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So you have kind of a high rate of incontinence and leakage with them, right? And then as people get older, generally people have higher rates of incontinence as well. Yeah. And I think part of that is the fact that people never learn to control their pelvic floor, right? They either don't build up the strength, or they don't build up the ability to just control it to both in the relaxing direction, right? And upwards. And so that becomes an issue later on, right? As we lose muscle mass as we get older, that includes in the pelvic floor. Yeah. We generally have changes in our hormones that are going to affect.
Oh yeah, those.
I know, hormones are wild.
Oh God.
Yeah, that's going to affect people's feelings of urgency and how often they need to go to the bathroom. And then as we get into even as people get a lot older, right, we have issues with even just the getting to the bathroom. Right. And that becomes an issue, right? And that can contribute to a lot of other problems, and it just often makes the issue worse.
So what are some things that people can do at home to help with? Is there anything they can do at home, or do they need to go to specialists to help them?
Yeah, so in general, if people are having issues, I would highly recommend obviously going to a professional and getting assessed. Partially because you can't really tell if you're having issues of weakness, or pelvic floor is not holding enough tone, right? Versus the pelvic floor is too tight, right? You have too much tone. It's sometimes the symptoms will overlap, and people can't tell. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, very interesting.
So sometimes we also have leakage when the pelvic floor is too tight, and people think oh, I'm leaking because I'm too weak. But sometimes having too much tightness can put more pressure on the bladder and makes it so that you're not adjusting to the forces the way that you need to.
That is very interesting, actually. I would never have begun to think that.
Yeah.
That would never have crossed my mind, as that it was you're too tight, or...
Yeah, exactly.
This is why I have guests like this on, because y'all, I need to learn this shit too. No, that's I would never in a million years have thought that was part of it as well.
Yes. So then people start doing Kegels because they just assume, I'm leaking because I have weakness. They make the problem worse, right? So
well, and again, Kegels.
That's all we ever learned. We didn't know what the fuck they were for, why we were supposed to do them. We just knew Kegels. Kegels. Yeah. I just remember hearing that word and being like,
just do them. Just do them.
In the regards to Kegels, those weighted balls that you insert into your vagina.
Yeah.
What the fuck are those supposed to be doing? Because, I bought some and I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with these. There's no instructions. I put them in.
Just put them in, right? Yeah.
And I was like, well, this is weird. It's like a really heavy tampon. It's doing nothing for me. I kind of forgot that they were there. Like, fantastic. Was I doing anything? What the fuck are those things? And like, what is the purpose of them and do we need them?
Yes. So the pelvic floor weights, they are specifically generally to strengthen the pelvic floor.
Okay.
And they can also help with just like increasing resting tone of the pelvic floor, right? So
what does that mean?
So we always have some level of tone, meaning just like some level of tension in the pelvic floor. It's never, or it shouldn't be, just like fully relaxed all the time. Because then we'd just constantly be peeing ourselves.
Yeah,
and
I was
ourselves.
Like, and then it would just, everything would just come out of us. It would just flow out nonstop. That would be really attractive. Just what we want.
Yeah, not exactly ideal, right? So it should always have some level of tension in it to hold up our organs and to keep us from peeing.
Right, because we also don't want our organs falling out.
Yes.
I mean, that would be bizarre.
It's helpful, right? So should have a level of tone. And sometimes people have maybe a lower level of resting tone or a higher level of resting tone, especially after having kids. Oftentimes people will have that like lower level of resting tone. And sometimes the pelvic weights can be helpful for just like bringing up that resting tone a little bit. Because you have them wear those for a little while and it just helps to kind of, the pelvic floor kind of adapts to like that little extra weight there.
Thank you for explaining it. Because like I say, I bought them, I inserted them and went, what the hell is happening? Is anything happening? What's happening? Is anything going on? It just feels like I'm wearing a weird ass tampon.
Yeah.
It really just felt, and I was like, am I supposed to do this? Like, why did I spend money on this?
And again, the danger is people put those in because they think like, oh, I'm having this issue. Maybe this will help. Or I just want to get a tighter pelvic floor, whatever. But if the issue is that they already have that higher level of resting tone,
then it's
just making it worse.
What happened, you guys? Why did the episode just stop? Well, this season we're splitting episodes in two, so that means you have to wait till next week to see the rest of this episode with Rachel all about pelvic health. So remember to hit that subscribe button because you want to know when it's released. Hit that subscribe button, you guys. All right, see you in a week.